Today, I'm going to be saying goodbye to an old friend. Welcome back to the vlog channel. I haven't uploaded on this channel for a while, but I thought this was a really important occasion because last week, I bought myself a new car. I signed the papers, I paid for it in full with my own money, and it has my name on the registration. I've never owned my own car before, and it's obviously a very exciting thing. But it also means I have to say goodbye to an old friend of mine, which is my very trusty 7-year-old Hyundai i30 hatchback. I was just a pimply-faced 19-year-old when I picked up this car, but before that, I had just passed my driving test the year before, and I had what we call a green P plate here in Australia. And you have some restrictions about how much alcohol you can drink or whatever. I mean, I don't drink alcohol when I drive anyway. I just had my green Ps, but I'd been borrowing my mum's old 2005 Honda Civic. That thing was actually not too bad, but it was quite slow. It was very small. It was very old. It had lots of scratches and dents everywhere. So when I was 19 years old, my family said to me, look, Adam, I think you need to get a new car because you can't be driving this Honda Civic around. It's not very convenient. My dad took me to a dealership, and that dealership was actually a Toyota dealership. And we looked at Toyotas because a lot of older generation people will say, oh, Toyota is very reliable, very good resale value. 2013 Toyota Corolla, the base model. And just looking at it, you can already tell it's quite bland. And I was okay with that. I was like, look, if it's bland, that's fine. It's just a car for me to drive around. I'm happy with anything. And then we sat inside the interior and it looks like this. And I'm just like, dude, is this from like the early 2000s or something? Like, do we really want to buy this car? And then the salesman came over and he could not be any more uninterested about the car. He was like, so yeah, this car has the same engine that we've been using for 10 years here at Toyota, and yeah, it's pretty reliable. Yeah, so if you're not buying the car, I'm not interested. And I said, wow, that's some bad salesmanship, especially when considering the car is just so bad. It clearly doesn't sell itself unless you're buying it for the badge. And I'm definitely not a Toyota hater either. I mean, I used to watch a lot of Initial D and I loved cars like the Supra and the A86. Anyway, my dad was not pleased because it was a lot of money for a car that didn't really give much. And I made the light suggestion of, why don't we check out Hyundai? They had this brand new car called an i30, which was really, really nice and curvaceous in the pictures. So I was like, okay, let's go check out Hyundai. So my dad and I walked next door to the Hyundai dealership, which is, yeah, it's literally right next to the Toyota one. And I suddenly realized there was a lot more people at the Hyundai one than there was at the Toyota one because Hyundai had a sale, and there it was, the i30. I saw the i30 hatchback for the first time in the flesh, and I was really amazed at how it looked because it was so curvy, it was so nice. It had all these nice styling elements that looked very European. So my dad and I sat inside the car and we saw that the interior was also a huge improvement over the Toyota. You're seeing some shots of my car right now, which I'll show you in detail later on. But it was just really nice for the price. So after some negotiating and some talking, my parents helped me buy this beautiful i30, and I was so happy about it. I instantly took this photo on my driveway, this old photo of me. Look at my 2013 style fashion with those yellow pants. I drove a lot of my friends around the first couple of days between the universities, to our rehearsals, to concerts and things like that. And they were also very excited. I remember Jackson was very excited about the car because it was so new. And I washed the car almost every single week, and I used to take photos like this of me washing the car on the front lawn. I would wax it like every second week. I bought a whole bunch of expensive car detailing products with the little budget I had. I didn't even have a part-time job at the time. Treasuring it so much because also my parents helped me buy, and I wanted to respect that. I also said I would pay for all of the costs, like the servicing, the fuel, the insurance, the registration. Over the next 7 years, this car would take me to pretty much everything, and it would see me through a lot of major things in my life. Starting off with, of course, it would drive me to uni. It would drive me to any gigs or concerts that I had. When I first leased out this office space, which would become the studio, I drove it to the real estate agency. I carried all of the furniture in the back of the hatchback. I carried the marimba in the back of my hatchback. And I've also played host to a lot of people in this car because I like to drive people around. I'm literally like a pro bono Uber driver sometimes, but I enjoy driving, and I drove everyone from my close family and friends to people who visited from overseas. So yeah, it has a lot of great memories associated to it. So I wanted to make a video about it to sort of give it a send-off, a farewell if you like. And I've always wanted to make a review tour video, like those car reviewers where they walk around the car and they introduce every feature to you. So I'm gonna do exactly that with my car. Let's go. All right, this is my new car. No, just kidding. It's my Hyundai i30, 2013, 7 years old. It's aged pretty well actually, and I've kept it in pretty decent condition. You can see it's still pretty clean. And yeah, I've got it parked in my office car park at the moment, just so you can see it nice and clearly under the lights. Here is the key. It is just a standard flip key. You can see that the buttons have kind of faded over time. I used to always flip this key over and over again. It doesn't flip as fast anymore. But yeah, you got unlock, boot, and lock. So let's unlock the car. Very nice. And then let's open the door. Oh, it's a nice door, and let's give it a start, shall we? As you can see, it is actually 99,420 kilometers. 420, lol. And it's got a little bit of fuel left, just enough for me to deliver it tomorrow. Turn the lights on. And let's also turn on the hazards. Hopefully people don't think I'm weird. So that's what the car looks like with the lights on. And you can see it still looks very modern, even to this day, with these HID lights at the front. My friend actually helped me put these in 5 years ago. What I don't like are these LED parker lights. They're a bit blue and sometimes they flicker. I don't know if you can see that, but it flickers. But whatever, I just never bothered to change it because you need to remove the bumper to change the lights, which I think is really stupid. Like, you'd think you'd just reach back here and change the light, right? But nope. This chrome grille has seen better days. I used to polish it like every day, but now it's a little bit dirty. That's all right. It still looks really smart. I actually lost the original license plate. It got stolen or something. So this license plate's actually a replacement, and just by chance, this is my dad's initials. So that's really nice. But yes, I lost my license plate at a percussion ensemble concert, and I panicked so much about it. So it was really stressful. I called the police and I asked them, can you please give me like an excuse report so that I don't have to drive around with no plates? And yeah, thankfully I changed it the next day. Memories. Now underneath the hood, which I won't open because I'm giving the car away tomorrow, it has 110 kilowatts at, I think it's like 5,600 RPM and 180 Newton meters of torque, but it only comes in at like 5,000 RPM, so it's not particularly exciting to drive. It's good enough for everyday driving. 0 to 100 is like 11 seconds, but you know, it works, and it's great for just what I was using it for, just running to the office and to university and things like that. On this side, we have the wheels. Now, they have 16-inch steel wheels, as you'd expect on a car of this price. They're a little bit rusty now. This one actually looks pretty good. Oh no, this one's good too. So one of my wheels is cracked. Is it this one? There's a little bit of cracking on this one. I basically scraped the wheels on some curbs and there was just some flying bits. Here it is, here it is. Here's the cracked one. Yeah, this is what happens when you scrape your curb, but it's just a plastic thing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yes, these wheels look fine on the car actually. They look very modern, even though they are plastic. The other thing you might notice about the wheels is the tires, which are very close to running out of tread. But guess what? I've used these tires for 100,000 kilometers almost. I've never changed them once for 7 years. Like normally you change tires all the time. So that's really nice that I didn't have to change tires, but it would have been one of the things that I would have had to change if I kept the car. So glad I don't have to do that. I really love this line that goes along the side. It really makes the car look super modern and super nice. It was one of the things that drew me to this car actually, was this shoulder line. And it goes all the way to the back. Now I changed these reverse lights to LEDs, but they don't look very nice, so I'm just not going to show you because they're not very nice. But what is nice is this. I don't know what you call it, like the whole unit is an LED instead of an LED bulb. And it's just so bright and white, and it makes the car look so much fresher and more modern. Look at that. So anyway, that's the exterior. The car color is called Hyper Silver, which is like a gray, which looks really modern still. I really like this color. It's much better than normal silver, and it's better than black. But you know what? I'm gonna turn the engine off first because it's getting really loud. So let's turn this off. Well, actually, before we turn the engine off, let's talk about the interior. I really like this interior very much, and I'll turn on some of my LED lights. I changed these to LEDs too, and you can see it's just so much more modern and nice in this color, this white 6000K. I did the same thing for the dome lights at the back, which look, yeah, really nice, but sometimes I turn them off just to keep it a little bit dark in the interior. And later on, when I turn off the car, I'll show you that there's actually blue LEDs down here as well. Yeah, the interior design of this car is actually really nice. It's super modern and fluid. There's like a line running down here. All of this is like soft-ish plastic. Okay, this isn't, but this is. This part is a bit, you know, whatever. And the doors have these really nice signatures, like this metallic highlight that looks really cool. We have the tachometer on the left. Very straightforward, 8,000 RPMs. I don't think I've ever gone past 6,000. Temperature gauge, we have fuel gauge. There's enough fuel for 109 kilometers. And I don't think I've ever gone faster than 120, which I think is the maximum speed limit in Perth. So it would have been nice to take this car faster, but what can you do? This middle computer, it shows you the range on this view, and it also shows you the temperature. It's really nice when it's a hot day to know how hot it is. But also you can make it show other things like this. Fuel economy. So I average about 7 liters, that's about right. And that's really good fuel economy. It means you can get 600 kilometers from a tank, maybe. It's a 51 liter tank. So it's really frugal. It really served me well around town. Press trip again and I can see the current fuel economy. We're not driving, so it's 0. This is average speed, I think. I've never reset this counter, so it just has an average for 7 years worth of driving. And then we got average, I think this is like trip time. Again, I've never reset this. This is your settings. If you press trip for a long time, you can change the settings. Auto door lock, auto door unlock. Yeah, the door actually does lock when you go up to speed. Headlamp delay is like if you lock the car and then you leave the headlights on, it keeps the lights on so that you can see your way home. It's a nice feature. And then what else do we have? Auto triple turn is your indicator. Average fuel economy in what units, temperature unit, degrees or Fahrenheit. Eco driving, yeah, no one. I don't know what that is, but I don't think it matters. Okay, so other than that, we have trip A, trip B to measure your distances. I've never reset this. This is the steering wheel. You can see it's got volume up and down. Very well used. It's the fastest way to change the volume for sure. You got previous and next for changing track. You got mode. You have mute, which is really good for when someone is on the phone or if you just want to shut up music quickly. Mode changes the infotainment system, which is a 5-inch touchscreen. Now this is not big by modern standards, of course, but it's actually quite decent for 2013 standards. But yeah, you can press the mode button to change between FM. I took the antenna off the ceiling, so there's probably going to be no radio. FM2, FM3, AM, and then yeah, you press media. It's like voice memos. This is a really pointless feature, I never used it. And normally you'd have Bluetooth audio if I connected my phone, but I'm using it to film. It also has a USB port, which you notice it says iPod. That's back when people used to plug their iPods into USB. While we're here, we might as well talk about the other things. You got just normal stuff about sound and you know where the sound is panning. My equalizer, +10 bass. The phone buttons, yes, no. This is good for if you need to pick up a phone call as you're driving, and this is just to change the track, but I prefer to use this one instead. It's much easier. All in all, it's pretty good. I just like that it's simple. Recently, the audio has started to not work. It doesn't always connect. I think it's a firmware problem. Whatever, at least it has a real volume knob. Down here we have hazard lights. We have aircon. This max AC button actually doesn't do anything. I think it literally just resets everything to default. Your normal AC button, I think this one would have been either a seat warmer. Actually, I think it is seat warmer on both sides, but of course this is the base model. Aircon knob, 2, 3, 4. Front demister, rear demister. That was a really lauded feature back in 2013. People were like, oh, you must have both front and rear demister. You got temperature knob. I actually like old school temperature knobs like this. I don't like plus and minus temperature knobs. They're too slow. And yeah, it all feels really nice. This piano black finish, even though it's a little bit scratched now, it actually has aged really well. It just makes the interior look really more premium than it actually is. Now on the right hand side of the steering wheel, we have cruise control. I use cruise control a lot, especially if we're on the freeway or if I'm on a road trip or something. I don't want to hold the accelerator down, I just want to rest my leg. So this thing is like a Hyundai feature they introduced from 2012 onwards, that because this is like electric power steering, right? And if you press this button, it can change the steering mode between normal, which is what I have it on most of the time. You change comfort, which makes the steering really light, too light, I think. And you can also make it sport, which makes it way too tight and really full of friction. It's kind of more of a gimmick than anything else, but I just leave it in normal. That just makes my life easier. And then yeah, you have your horn. I'm not going to do that, obviously, it's nighttime. And over here you have your light switches. There are fog lights, but I never use them. Windscreen wiper, rear and front. Rear wipers were a big feature in 2013. I've got my cradle up here. I always drive with a cradle because it's the law in Australia to drive with a cradle. It's much safer as well. Over here we have another air vent. I really like the finishing of these air vents with this metal plastic finish. A bank of buttons here, which most of the stuff is missing. It's all those fancy safety features I'm missing. But you do have the important ones like traction control, ABS, EBD. There's no hill start assist or anything like that. So a lot of blank buttons. And this one is to make the gauges darker or brighter. So in the daytime you'll drive with brighter, nighttime you'll do darker. Now over on the right hand side of the door, and by the way the door has soft touch plastic on both the front and the back, which is becoming more and more uncommon now, so it's nice that they have that. This metallic highlight is still really cool. I really like this soft cushion. And then you have power mirrors, not folding mirrors, but power mirrors. So if I switch it to the right, I can move the mirror in and out. This is great for adjusting without having to touch the mirror. The windows lock the doors. That's unlock, that's lock. Very easy. And then you got auto down, auto up. There's no auto up, I'm kidding. Auto down, and you got 3 normal power windows. So yeah, pretty well equipped, right? In terms of driver's seat comforts. You also notice that my pedals are actually metal pedals. I have steel pedals, which are an option at the dealer. I got so excited about them when I first got the car. I was like, I must have metal pedals. So I got metal pedals, and yeah, they're pretty nice, but they do feel a little bit slippery. Now over here we have 6-speed manual transmission. Yes, manual transmission is the best. I love driving manual. It's very engaging, but at the same time, when you're in traffic, it's not the best because you have to keep shifting up and down if it's slow. But this gear shifter is actually really short. See, it's like really quick for a car that is an economical hatchback. It's really simple to use. Reverse is just you pull this tab at the back like this, and then you pull it over there, and you hit a beep. That's a reverse parking sensor. There's no reverse camera on this car. I've never needed a reverse camera for 7 years. Yeah, if I didn't have a manual transmission in this car, I'd be so bored. And then over here we have cup holders. I usually just chuck my keys in here. This is my studio key. And then we have a normal handbrake. So very easy to pull up and put down. So you can do some mad skids. There's also a center cubby over here, which you can store stuff. Sunglasses go in there. Over here we have my wide screen mirror. I don't know what you call this, but it's basically a distorted piece of glass. So you can see your blind spot over there. The seat's blocking it a little bit, but I can see that door. Without this, you can only see about this much, which is okay if you want to see out the back, but if you want to see your blind spot, you have to actually physically turn your head that way. So to have it up there is really great. I may put this on my new car as well, but my new car has a fancy rear mirror, so we'll see how that works first. And while I'm at it, I might just turn the car off to save some petrol. There we go. Okay, there you go, you can see the blue lights at the bottom. Yeah, it makes the footwells look a little bit more interesting instead of just nothing. Yeah, this was also a dealer option. I think I spent way too much money on this car. Doors have such a satisfying closed sound. Back seat, there's actually a lot of room. You still get all of the stuff like the same door handle, the same plastics, the same cloth. This is still soft. You have space for a water bottle as well. Every door has a water bottle. There's a speaker here, there's a speaker there, there's a speaker at the front, and there, and there, and there. So there's 6 speakers in total. And yeah, just looking at the car from here, don't you think it looks super modern for a 7-year-old car? I'll tell you why, it's because of the LEDs. Like if these were yellow, if you imagine these were yellow, this would look so old, but because of their whiteness, it looks really fresh. Yeah, I will miss this car, and I'll miss those underfloor LEDs. Maybe I can get them in my new car. So as you can see, my feet have a lot of room, my legs have a lot of room. This is my normal driving position. This car literally set the standard for spaciousness in the back seat. You have tons of room to sit here. Now this is my head. I'm 180-ish centimeters and my hair is touching the ceiling, but not my head. So I can actually sit here quite luxuriously. And actually the seats, even though they're cloth seats, they're super comfortable. I used to sleep on this seat. I used to recline it all the way back to here and sleep in between my classes and my teaching and stuff. When I had nowhere to sleep, when I didn't have a studio, I would just sleep in the car, and it's just super comfortable because the material is so soft. Even the center person has enough room for their feet because the transmission tunnel is not high at all. It's actually super, super low. So you can fit 3 people in the back. I've done it many times and no one's ever complained, which is nice. The mats I got on eBay for like 70 bucks. If your dealer doesn't offer you mats, just buy them online. Buy the OEM ones online, it's just way cheaper. You don't get any rear air vents, but that's okay because the aircon system in this car is actually pretty decent. This view is awesome. I'm just gonna keep looking at it. A lot of Uber drivers actually like this car too because you can just fit so much people and stuff in it. And speaking of fitting stuff, let's take a look at the back. Oh yeah, by the way, these doors, they open so wide. Look at this, look at this. That's like almost 90 degrees. That's how big it is. Yeah, and then the door has this really aggressive cutout, which I really like. There's a couple of scratches on this panel over here, and you know what these scratches are from? I'll show you. This thing. The first time I came to the studio, I scratched the pole because I didn't know that it was there, and it left these white scratches. And actually, there's a couple more scratches on the car. There's one over here, which is me reversing into a truck. This one actually only happened recently. I think it was like a year ago. I think there's one over here somewhere. Yeah, this one. This one is actually Jackson. My friend Jackson, he was loading a tubular bell into the back seat this way, and he just accidentally knocked the paintwork and he left this mark there forever. And I've kind of just let it be because it's not that obvious anyway. While we're here, this is the fuel tank. It's a 91 octane, very affordable. I also like push fuel tanks because you don't have to go in and out to refill the car. Now the boot, okay, this is the interesting part. Sorry, I should say the trunk. Americans like to say the trunk. Now the boot button, which is underneath here, is actually completely torn off. This used to be a big piece of rubber and you'd press the rubber, which would press this little yellow button here. But because the rubber is really thin, it's kind of just worn off over time. And so nowadays, when people reach to open my boot, they just have no idea how to do it because the button is so far inside. So I'm glad the dealer didn't say anything about that. Although it is a pretty easy fix. I just never got around to doing it. Here is the boot. And you can see it's quite a big space. I've got a box in here. Let's take that out for a second. LED boot lights, as you do. So this boot has a lot of space. You can fit a lot of things in here, like groceries, shopping. I think this is about 390 liters, if I'm not mistaken, which is more than Honda Jazz, for all of you Jazz fans out there. By the way, this thing is removable as well. It spent most of its time in my garage when I had to move marimbas and stuff. If you want to fold the seats down, you can pull this thing here and just fold it like this. But it won't be flat because this thing is here. So to make it flat, the Hyundai has one party trick. So to make it completely flat, you pull this tab over here and then the whole seat back comes out. You can chuck it over there. How good is that? And that means you can fold the seat down completely flat. Yes. So if I did the same thing on the other side, if I grab the tab underneath here, pull, you got your 60-40 split with flat loading bay. Flat. And that is how big the space is. There's the tissue box for reference. It's huge. There is a very small lip over here, which has never bothered me because once again, I would usually just fill blankets up to the top. But that's where you can fit in a full-size 5-octave marimba without cases. Underfloor storage is pretty good too. Yeah, it's just a really big boot space, and there is, coincidentally, a power socket at the back. You got some hooks for your shopping. I think in Malaysia we call them tatau hooks. A really usable boot space, and I've loaded all kinds of stuff in this car, from marimbas to furniture, and it's really easy to keep clean because it's just all cloth. The thing is, when I put my marimba one with cases, it doesn't quite fit because of this hump here. And my new car doesn't have this hump. So hopefully my new car can fit in the entire mobile. So yeah, that is my entire car, as you can see. I'm just filming all of this really just for my own sake. At the end of the day, I just want to remember what it was like to hold this car. It's just awesome. Everything about this car is awesome. It's a very practical car, super practical, super easy to drive. It's very light around town. The ride quality is quite comfortable. Suspension is like, it's nothing that you're going to be like, oh, super racy or whatever, but it's just very easy to turn the wheel because it's light steering. It's very easy over bumps. The tires do get a little bit noisy, but if you wanted to change that, that wouldn't be too expensive. For example, changing the headlights to HIDs was very difficult because there were so many tamper-proof plastics on it. It was ridiculous. So it's a rock solid car. And yeah, everything about it is just, it feels really built to last. And you can see the interior still looks pretty decent. I'd say it looks very similar to how it looked on the first day I bought this car. I'm driving the car right now, this last drive before I hand it over to the trade-in, and it's really quiet. Like honestly, I can't hear much at all. Ah, yes, look at that light. I'm really happy with the way this thing drives for day-to-day driving. Of course, as someone who really likes cars, I would prefer to drive something a bit more energetic off the line, a bit more character in the car, but I guess this car has earned its character in a sense. Yeah, you see, like cruising along the highway, you do feel some bumps here and there, but it's honestly very easy to drive. I'll miss this car. I can't believe this is going to be the last time I ever get to drive this car at night. Oh man. But I hope this video was an interesting insight into what it's like to own a car for a long time. So yeah, hopefully the new car will be just as good. Hopefully we get 7 years out of it as well. Hopefully we get good memories out of it. It's certainly going to be a lot more fun to drive. And I can't wait to show you guys that video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. If you did, I know it's a very long video to watch for someone just rambling about their car. Yeah, next video is going to be about the new car. I'm going to take you guys for a tour and you can see what you think. I think it's a really awesome car. It's very exciting for me to own a new car. So thank you for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.